We are joined by college baseball color analyst Mike Rooney. And Mike, this is definitely the time of the year that you've got to get amped up with coverage on ESPN. And I know we'll talk a little bit about that before we say goodbye. But squeeze play, you'll be traveling around all the regions, regionals, all the super regionals, up to the College World Series. But you also were alongside for our broadcast this season on television for GCU. And during that broadcast, you mentioned that you wouldn't be surprised if Arizona hosted a regional, and you wouldn't be surprised if perhaps GCU is going to be heading down to Tucson, and that indeed is the case.
Yeah, I mean, it is, super cool, Barry, in a million ways, right? Like we knew this day was coming where Grand Canyon was going to break through for that first NCAA tournament appearance under Andy Dankowitz, as far as the Division I side goes. And, you probably agree with me, but I believe that Grand Canyon is going to be they're going to be in regionals over and over again. I think there's going to be a day where they're going to be an at-large bid into a regional. I think the WAC is going to continue to improve, and the baseball is when you get Cal Baptist gets through their transition period. But that's one of the things we have in the NCAA tournament in baseball is they tend to regionalize the regionals, and so Grand Canyon is. I'll tell you, I like this team very much, but this regional this is for adults, Barry. Like this is for big boys and big girls. This is arguably the toughest regional nationally, and it's going to be really fun to see how it plays out.
Yeah, I saw it, but I believe D1 college baseball had this the number 2 toughest region in all of college baseball. So no doubt it's going to be a tall task against the University of Arizona Friday night at 7 p.m. A team that's coming in 4th nationally in scoring, an average of 8.7 runs per game. But they were doing that early on when GCU was able to pull out that walk-off homer against the Wildcats earlier in the year.
Yeah, and I'd say, Barry, one of the reasons this is considered one of the top 2 toughest regionals is because of Grand Canyon, because of people's respect for the program. And, hey, if you're Arizona, okay, for Grand Canyon, is it the perfect regional? I don't know, maybe not. But for Arizona, it's equally the nightmare because you're going to have to deal with Pearson Knoll, most likely. And this kid can really pitch. I mean, he can beat anybody on any given night. The challenge for GCU will be, first of all, in Tucson, that's a very extreme environment. It'll play very offensive. So Pearson Knoll will have, assuming he pitches, he'll have to be on his game. And GCU will have to play, extremely high-level defense. But I think those are 2 things we've come to count on with GCU. And, it'll be very interesting. The other side of the deal is really outstanding, too. It's UC Santa Barbara, Oklahoma State. I mean, again, there's no place to hide in this regional, but I do think it's going to be a really fun environment.
Yeah, and of course, Arizona, GCU's familiar with a number of those guys. They were in the lineup earlier in the season in the home-and-home series with the Wildcats. Jacob Barry, a freshman, and he's stepping up for the Wildcats from Queen Creek. And you saw guys for the Lopes stepping up. Freshmen were standing up big time in the WAC tournament as well as throughout the regular season.
Yeah, a ton of really good young hitters, like true freshmen. Hey, Jacob Berry for Arizona is probably going to be the National Freshman of the Year. If not, he's a finalist for that. But, we know GCU has got some really elite true freshmen. And, Jacob Wilson, I'm like president of his fan club. I think that kid's a future star as he gets stronger and puts more weight on. But, I do think if you're going to beat Arizona and let's call a fish a fish. They're the Pac-12 champions for a reason. If you're going to beat them, playing clean defense is so key, not walking people. And I think that's why Grand Canyon does have that victory over Arizona, is because they are a team that's built to minimize, if not eliminate, free passes. I just think that's a real key, because what Arizona does is they kind of just wound you with their offense, and then you start walking people and kicking balls, and then it's over. Then it just, the whole ship has sank.
Let's talk a little bit about the other 2 teams that you mentioned earlier, the Cowboys and the Gauchos. Oklahoma State, the Lopes traveled there. They had a tough first couple of games before they were tied at 4 before they had to leave that 3rd game of that series for travel purposes. But Coach Holiday, Coach Checketts, both teams playing real well. The Gauchos coming in riding an 8-game winning streak.
Yeah, and ironically, Barry, both of these teams, Oklahoma State and Santa Barbara, were in Omaha in 2016. So, high-level talent. Santa Barbara is interesting because they were a preseason top 10 team. Michael McGreevy, their first guy out, is a first-round pick. Rodney Boone is amongst the nation's leaders in strikeouts. They really pitched. Ironically, they hit a lot of home runs for a Big West team. I think for Santa Barbara, maybe they haven't been quite as clean defensively as we thought they might be. And their bullpen hasn't been as strong as we thought it might be. But still, they're really good in the front end in their pitching. And they are getting healthier in their lineup, which will be interesting. Oklahoma State, Barry, was nearly a #1 seed. I mean, they win that Big 12 championship game, and they might be hosting their own regional or be a #1 seed somewhere. The thing that's interesting about Oklahoma State is they had 4 major injuries to their pitching staff down the stretch, and 2 of those guys are back now. So, in essence, for Arizona being a top 8 national seed, that's a tough draw because Oklahoma State's getting healthier, Santa Barbara's getting healthier. Grand Canyon, I would argue, is one of the top 2 4 seeds nationally. This is going to be fun.
Yeah, Oklahoma State, that was a grind through their tournament, right? They took care of Oklahoma, West Virginia, Texas, and then they lose 10-7 to TCU. So they're battle ready. They've had 46 appearances in postseason play. The Wildcats 40, the Gauchos with 12, and here's a GCU team coming into their first postseason regional. How do they approach this? How do they calm their nerves when they head to High Corbin on Friday?
Yeah, I would say, Barry, the first thing that Andy Dankowitz will probably tell this team is, hey, we're built for this. Like pitching and defense are at such a premium in the postseason, and that's exactly what Grand Canyon is about. The other thing I would say is, what the last 2 WAC tournaments, 2019 and 2021, the mental toughness it takes to navigate those 2 tournaments, it's exactly the same thing, almost an identical format. And so it was really cool to see Grand Canyon hey, when I saw them behind in the first game in the WAC tournament, you're thinking, okay, like, hey, when you're trying to exercise demons, they don't go out easily, right? And then, in the championship game, it wasn't a breeze, right? Like they had to really work back. And so that level of mental toughness is what it takes to play well in a regional. And I think for all the teams, there's a level of anxiety that is very difficult to work through. And the teams that get through it the most quickly in the first part of that first game, it's a huge advantage.
Runes, what can you say about Coach Dankowitz? That WAC tournament championship game was victory number 300 for him.
Yeah, I mean, when Grand Canyon has been on people's radar, right, because of the trajectory of the school, and when Grand Canyon hired Andy Dankowitz, I think everybody had the same reaction. Look out, right? Like it's on. Like Andy's going to build a great program. And then the facility upgrade happens. And then you watch the WAC tournament a couple years ago, and I'm not the only baseball person looking at that thinking, okay, that's a data point right there. Like that. And what Grand Canyon has done under Andy Dankowitz is they keep raising the bar. They just keep kind of incrementally increasing what the expectation of the program is. So, this is the next step, making an NCAA tournament. The next step is being a regular in NCAA tournaments. And that's how the teams that break through to Omaha, that's how they do it. They just keep knocking down the next door. And again, 300 wins for Andy Dankowitz, not a surprise, but an incredible accomplishment.
Finally, you're going to be heading to Bristol, going to ESPN. Talk a little bit about squeeze play, what that's going to entail, where people can find it. And of course, I have to get your thoughts. I know ASU is heading to Austin for that regional with Texas there as well. How do you see it? How do you think this is going to play out? And who are your favorites maybe to head to Omaha?
Yeah. So Barry, the best way I would describe squeeze play is it would be like you and me this weekend going to our favorite sports bar and restaurant with a million TVs, but you and I get to control the remote, right?
Oh, awesome.
And we just get to talk about everything, but we have a microphone on. That's what it is. We're just sitting around watching baseball, taking the audience wherever we want to go. If you follow us, we're gonna get you. Like if we're going to the Austin Regional, we'll tell you why. We'll tell you what's up. We'll tell you who the stars on the field are. So if you're just kind of diving into college baseball, we got you.
Who's going to be in the College World Series? Who do you think the favorites are?
Yeah, I mean, I will say this, Barry. Arkansas is the one team in the country where if they don't make it to Omaha, I will just be floored. Like I don't even see a path for Arkansas not to get it. They're so good in every way, built for the whole deal. Everybody else, Barry, if you could just you could tell me Norfolk State's going to Omaha, I'd say, okay, in 2021, sure. And I think we're going to have more 7th games of the regionals than we've ever had. I think we're going to have more game 3s of super regionals. Because remember, Barry, these teams have not played each other like normal. This season has been all over the joint. And none of these kids or coaches have been in a regional in 2 years, if at all. So the anxiety level is going to be at, high. And so I think that's what I'm most excited for is I feel like we literally don't know what we're going to see, but we know it's going to be fun.
Well, it'll also be fun to tune you in, ESPN, Squeeze Play. Look forward to the full coverage of the regionals, super regionals, and the College World Series. Runes, have fun.
Thanks, Barry. Appreciate it.